2.5 millennia ago, a man sat beneath a tree and altered the course of human history. But what truly transpired that night? Did Siddhartha Gautama acquire supernatural abilities? Did he foresee the future? Or was his revelation something far more profound? The reality of enlightenment might astonish you. If you believe you understand what it means to be enlightened, it's time to reconsider. Today, we're diving into one of Buddhism's greatest enigmas, enlightenment. It's what the Buddha uncovered under the Bodhi tree, what monks dedicate their lives to pursuing, and it's likely nothing like what you imagine. If you've watched our video on the Four Noble Truths, you already know the fundamentals of the Buddha's teachings. But today, we're going deeper. We're uncovering what truly happens when someone awakens to reality. Is enlightenment some mystical state where you rise above your problems? Is it attainable only by ancient monks? Or is it closer than you think? As Zen Master Dogen once said, if you cannot find the truth right where you are, where else do you expect to find it? That's our first clue. So grab your favorite meditation cushion, or just get comfortable wherever you are, because we're about to explore what enlightenment really is and why those who claim to have achieved it probably haven't. Let's begin. Imagine this. A man sits under a sprawling fig tree. He has been meditating for days, hungry, exhausted, yet resolute in his quest to unravel the mystery of human suffering. This isn't just any man. It's Siddhartha Gautama, a former prince who renounced luxury, family, and comfort to discover why we suffer. As night falls, Siddhartha confronts his own mind. According to Buddhist tradition, he faces Mara, the embodiment of temptation and distraction. Memories and desires surface, but he remains steadfast in his meditation, observing each thought without attachment. The Pali Canon recounts that something profound occurred that night. Through deep concentration, Siddhartha gained 3 specific insights. First, he recalled his past lives. Then, he comprehended the cycle of rebirth for all beings. Finally, he realized the Four Noble Truths, the nature of suffering, its cause, its cessation, and the path to ending it. When the morning star appeared in the sky, Siddhartha's understanding was complete. In his own words from the Dhammapada, "Through many births I wandered, seeking but not finding the builder of this house. Painful is repeated birth. House builder, you are seen. You shall build no house again. All your rafters are broken, your ridgepole shattered. My mind has attained the unconditioned. Achieved is the end of craving." What's remarkable is what didn't change. The Buddha didn't become superhuman. He remained subject to physical pain, aging, and bodily needs. What transformed was his relationship with experience. He no longer generated suffering around these natural processes. As the revered monk Thanissaro Bhikkhu explains, the Buddha's awakening gave him not a linear view of the cosmos, but a perspective on experience akin to a hologram. He saw how suffering arises and ceases through direct experience, not abstract theory. And this awakening led directly to compassion. The Buddha didn't retreat into isolation. Instead, he spent 45 years teaching others the path he had discovered. His first discourse at Deer Park wasn't about magical powers, but about the practical path to end suffering. Let's address what most people think enlightenment looks like: a glowing guru atop a mountain, someone perpetually serene, never angry, floating above the struggles of everyday life. Perhaps they can read minds or predict the future. But here's the startling truth: that's not enlightenment at all. Real Buddhist masters throughout history have described awakening quite differently. When Zen master Qingyuan was asked about his experience, he offered this surprising response: "Before I studied Zen, mountains were mountains and waters were waters. When I learned Zen, mountains were no longer mountains and waters no longer waters. But now, mountains are once again mountains and waters once again waters." What does this mean? It means enlightenment isn't about seeing something extraordinary. It's about perceiving ordinary reality without distortion. Here's the real shocker: many Buddhist masters admit that awakening can initially feel disappointing. Yes, disappointing. The 13th century Zen master Dogen wrote that enlightenment can feel like the most mundane thing imaginable. You expect cosmic fireworks and instead get a regular Tuesday morning. The 9th century master Linji was even more provocative when he declared, "If you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him." He wasn't advocating violence but warning against clinging to ideas of enlightenment. Even the notion of becoming enlightened becomes another obstacle. Enlightenment, then, isn't about transcending the world or acquiring superpowers. It's about seeing the world as it truly is, without the filters of craving, aversion, or delusion. It's realizing that the answers we seek aren't somewhere out there, but right here, in the present moment. As you reflect on this, ask yourself, are you ready to let go of preconceived notions and see reality as it is? Because enlightenment might be closer, and more ordinary, than you ever imagined. Let me share one of my favorite Zen stories with you. A monk once asked Master Zhao Zhou, "What is enlightenment?" Zhao Zhou replied, "Have you eaten your rice porridge?" The monk answered, "Yes." Zhao Zhou said, "Then wash your bowl." That's it, no grand philosophy, no mystical visions. Just washing your bowl. Being fully present in the most ordinary of tasks. Even the Buddha himself challenged the notion of enlightenment as something magical or otherworldly. In the Kalama Sutta, he emphasized, don't believe something just because it has been passed down by tradition. Don't believe something simply because I said it. Test everything against your own experience. He wasn't asking for blind faith in some supernatural transformation. In fact, many of the most enlightened teachers often appear surprisingly ordinary. They get hungry, they feel tired, and yes, they laugh at jokes. As 20th century Zen master Shunryu Suzuki put it, if you think you're enlightened, that's a sure sign you're not. True awakening comes with humility, not arrogance. In our video about Buddhist myths, we explored misconceptions surrounding Buddhist practice, but this might be the biggest one of all. Enlightenment isn't an achievement that makes you special, it's the recognition that you were never separate from the world to begin with. It's not about adding something new but removing the illusions that obscure your natural awareness. Thai forest monk Ajahn Chah described it beautifully. Looking for peace is like searching for a turtle with a mustache. You won't find it. But when your heart is ready, peace will come looking for you. The surprising truth about enlightenment isn't how extraordinary it is, it's how extraordinarily ordinary. And here's where things get really intriguing. There's a paradox at the heart of spiritual practice. The more desperately you chase enlightenment, the further it slips away. This is what I call the enlightenment trap. Think about it. You start meditating to find peace, but soon you're constantly checking your progress. Am I enlightened yet? How about now? Was that it? You turn your practice into another ego-driven pursuit, another way to feel superior. But enlightenment isn't something the ego can possess. It's the dissolution of ego identification. This connects directly to one of Buddhism's deepest insights, anatta, or non-self. The Buddha taught that what we consider our self isn't a fixed, permanent entity but a dynamic process, a flowing collection of experiences, perceptions, thoughts, and emotions. Enlightenment involves seeing through the illusion of a separate, solid self. As the Mahayana Sutras express, form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Awakening doesn't mean losing your identity. It means seeing it for what it truly is, open, interconnected, and ever-changing. This isn't abstract philosophy, it's liberation from the prison of a fixed identity. No wonder the Buddha described his awakening as breaking free from chains. On meditation retreats, I've seen this play out time and again. People compete over who can sit the longest, who has the deepest insights, or who appears the most spiritual. One person experiences a moment of bliss and thinks, "I've got it." Another has a vivid vision and believes they're chosen. But genuine awakening can't be captured or owned this way. The 13th century Zen master Dogen warned about this very pitfall. To study the Buddha way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. Yet how many of us are actually trying to forget ourselves? Most of us are trying to improve ourselves, to become a better, more spiritual version of who we already think we are. This trap becomes even more perilous when teachers and gurus fall prey to it. History is riddled with self-proclaimed enlightened masters who use their status to manipulate followers, claiming special knowledge or powers, demanding obedience, and even abusing their students' trust. As the Buddha cautioned in the Kalama Sutta, don't go by reports, legends, traditions, scriptures, logical conjecture, inference, analogies, agreement through pondering views, probability, or the thought, this contemplative is our teacher. The darker side of the enlightenment trap is what psychologists now term spiritual bypassing, using spiritual ideas to avoid dealing with real challenges. Phrases like "I'm so enlightened, I don't need to address my harmful behavior," or "everything is empty, so my actions don't matter," completely miss the point. True awakening heightens ethical awareness and responsibility. It doesn't diminish it. Remember this simple truth: Those who loudly proclaim their enlightenment are usually furthest from it. As the Tao Te Ching wisely states, those who know do not speak. Those who speak do not know. The moment you believe you're enlightened, you've fallen into the trap. This romanticization of enlightenment has only intensified in our modern consumer culture. We've transformed awakening into another product, another experience to collect. You see it in wellness retreats promising enlightenment in a weekend, or apps claiming to deliver ancient wisdom without the effort. Real practice isn't about accumulating extraordinary experiences, it's about seeing through the very desire for such experiences. This romanticization becomes especially dangerous when it leads to spiritual bypassing. I've witnessed meditators dismiss real-world problems with phrases like, "It's all just emptiness," or "Everything is perfect as it is," while ignoring their ethical responsibilities. The Buddha never taught that awakening means escaping reality. He taught the opposite. Awakening means facing reality more directly, with greater accountability, not less. So what does enlightenment look like in today's world? Scientists have been studying this question for decades. They've placed long-term meditators and Buddhist monks in brain scanners, and the findings are fascinating. These advanced practitioners exhibit distinct neurological patterns: increased gamma wave activity, heightened prefrontal cortex engagement, reduced reactivity in the amygdala, the brain's fear center, and decreased activity in the default mode network, the part responsible for self-referential thinking. In short, their brains physically change. These changes suggest that enlightenment isn't merely a philosophical concept, it's a tangible shift in how the mind operates. It reflects a move away from habitual self-centered thinking toward a broader, more compassionate perspective. But these transformations don't happen overnight. They require consistent practice, patience, and a willingness to let go, not just of external distractions but of deeply ingrained notions of who we think we are. Ultimately, enlightenment isn't about becoming someone extraordinary, it's about rediscovering the extraordinary within the ordinary. It's about washing your bowl, walking mindfully, breathing deeply, and meeting each moment with clarity and presence. It's not a destination, it's a way of being. So instead of chasing after enlightenment, perhaps the invitation is simpler: wake up to the life you're already living. Let me share a humorous moment from a silent meditation retreat I once attended. On the fifth day, one participant had what seemed like a profound breakthrough during meditation. Their face was radiant, and they practically floated out of the meditation hall. But at lunch, when someone else took the last piece of dessert they'd been eyeing, boom, instant rage. We've all been there. We experience a moment of clarity in meditation, only to lose it when life throws us a curveball. But here's the thing, that's not a failure of practice. That is the practice. Noticing how quickly we shift from feeling peaceful to boiling with frustration is exactly what awareness is for. As one teacher humorously put it, enlightenment isn't when you stop getting angry about traffic. It's when you notice yourself getting angry and think, there's that pattern again, and maybe chuckle at yourself. But here's the critical question: can science measure enlightenment? Can a brain scan detect awakening? Many researchers, including neuroscientist Richard Davidson, argue that the answer is no, at least not directly. While we can observe changes in brain activity associated with meditation, consciousness itself remains a scientific enigma. As Davidson explains, the finger pointing at the moon is not the moon itself. Brain scans may reveal correlations, but they can't capture the essence of awakening. What's even more fascinating is how enlightenment manifests in everyday people. You don't need to be a monk meditating in solitude. A parent changing diapers or a programmer writing code can embody awakened qualities just as fully as someone chanting mantras in a cave. For this video, I spoke with several teachers, and they all emphasize the same point: enlightenment isn't about escaping your life, it's about being fully present within it. The awakened mind brings clarity and compassion to everything it touches: relationships, work, creativity, even struggles. Consider everyday situations. How might an enlightened person handle being cut off in traffic? They might feel a flash of irritation, but it wouldn't consume them. How would they deal with illness? They'd face pain without adding layers of resistance or suffering. How would they approach success? With gratitude, but without clinging to it. As one contemporary teacher told me, enlightenment isn't locked away in a monastery. It's found in how you treat others, your patience in traffic, and the presence you bring to each moment. The Buddha himself was deeply engaged with society, teaching, traveling, and resolving conflicts. He didn't retreat into isolation after his awakening. He spent 45 years helping others navigate their own paths. This highlights a key aspect of enlightenment. It's not about transcending the world, it's about transforming how you relate to it. It's also intriguing how enlightenment is understood differently across cultures. In traditional Eastern contexts, awakening is often seen as realizing what's already present, your inherent Buddha nature. It's about removing obstacles to what's natural. However, when these teachings migrated to the West, they sometimes merged with our achievement-oriented mindset. Western seekers frequently approach enlightenment as something to gain or add to themselves. Psychology professor Jack Kornfield calls this phenomenon spiritual materialism. Neither perspective is entirely wrong, but the traditional Eastern view might save us from turning enlightenment into another item on our spiritual shopping list. As Thich Nhat Hanh beautifully said, we are here to awaken from the illusion of our separateness, not to acquire something we lack. Modern manifestations of enlightenment are remarkably practical. You notice it in someone's actions more than their words, in their consistent kindness, their ability to stay balanced under pressure, and their capacity to see clearly without being swept away by emotions. These qualities may not make for flashy Instagram posts, but they're far more valuable. This brings us to one of Buddhism's most beautiful concepts, the Bodhisattva path. A bodhisattva is someone who could reach complete enlightenment but chooses to remain in the cycle of rebirth to help all beings end their suffering. It's the ultimate act of compassion. As we explored in our video on bodhisattvas, this ideal transforms how we view enlightenment. Instead of seeking liberation solely for oneself, one recognizes that true freedom comes through connection with others. The bodhisattva makes a radical vow, expressed in these powerful words from the tradition. May I be a guard for those who need protection, a guide for those on the path. A boat, a raft, a bridge for those who wish to cross the flood. May I be a lamp in the darkness, a resting place for the weary. A healing medicine for all who are sick, a vase of plenty, a tree of miracles. What's fascinating is how this path shifts our relationship with suffering. When you're focused only on escaping your own pain, suffering remains the enemy. But for a bodhisattva, suffering becomes the catalyst for compassion. Your challenges become your teachers, helping you understand what others feel. The Heart Sutra, one of Buddhism's most revered texts, encapsulates this wisdom. Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, practicing deep prajnaparamita, clearly saw that all 5 skandhas are empty, transforming all suffering and distress. This doesn't mean suffering disappears. It means you see its true nature and are no longer controlled by it. In today's world, where we're bombarded with messages about personal success and individual happiness, the Bodhisattva path reminds us that true fulfillment comes through service and connection. True enlightenment isn't a private achievement, it naturally flows outward to benefit others. As the Dalai Lama says, our prime purpose in this life is to help others. And if you can't help them, at least don't hurt them. This simple statement captures the ethical essence of awakening. It's not about reaching some exalted state, it's about how you treat the person right in front of you right now. If the Bodhisattva path illustrates how enlightenment moves outward, how does it arise in the first place? Is it sudden or gradual? Throughout Buddhist history, there's been a lively debate about this. In Zen and Chan Buddhism, teachers often emphasize sudden enlightenment, a flash of insight where everything shifts. Classic Zen stories love these dramatic moments, like when Kyogen was sweeping and a tile struck bamboo with a sharp crack, instantly opening his mind. Or when Hakuin heard a temple bell and suddenly understood. On the other hand, the Theravada tradition generally teaches a more gradual approach. Practitioners progress through specific stages of insight outlined in texts like the Visuddhimagga, which maps out 16 distinct levels of understanding that unfold step by step. First comes moral discipline, then concentration, and finally wisdom emerges. So who's right, the sudden school or the gradual school? Here's where it gets interesting. 9th century Chan master Guifeng Zongmi offered a brilliant synthesis. Enlightenment is sudden, but its expression is gradual. It's like the sunrise. The sun itself appears suddenly above the horizon, but it takes time to illuminate the landscape. One moment you're in darkness, then there's light, but it takes time to see everything clearly. This resonates with the experiences of many practitioners I've spoken with. They describe moments of profound insight followed by years of integrating that understanding. As one teacher told me, awakening can happen in an instant, but embodying it takes a lifetime. The Buddha himself seemed to acknowledge both paths. In some sutras, he describes gradual training. In others, he recounts stories of immediate awakening. His first disciples reached enlightenment at different speeds. Some took years, while others understood immediately. What matters isn't the timeline but the authenticity. The Buddha didn't say, "I am enlightened," he said, "I am awake." The journey isn't about becoming something else, it's about waking up to what you already are. Sometimes that happens gradually, like morning light filling a room. Other times, it's sudden, like flipping on a light switch. Either way, what matters is seeing clearly. We've come a long way in this video, from the Buddha's awakening under the Bodhi tree to how enlightenment manifests in our modern world. So what have we discovered? Enlightenment isn't what most people imagine. It's not gaining special powers, escaping problems, or becoming someone else. It's seeing reality clearly, just as it is, without the distortions of craving, aversion, and delusion. The great mystery of awakening lies in this paradox. The external world remains unchanged, yet everything is transformed. As one teacher put it, enlightenment isn't a cosmic fireworks display. It's simply removing the blinders you never knew you were wearing. Nothing changes, yet everything feels different. If there's one takeaway from today's exploration, it's this: don't chase enlightenment as another achievement. That's just the ego playing spiritual games. Instead, practice sincerely. Be present with whatever arises. Cultivate compassion for yourself and others. The rest will unfold naturally. Remember, enlightenment isn't found in a temple, a text, or a technique. It's the silent awareness behind every breath. The moment you stop searching for it, it has already arrived. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts and questions in the comments below. Have you experienced moments of clarity in your practice? What obstacles do you face? What teachings have helped you the most? If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe for more insights from Buddha's wisdom.